political parties are perpetually divided. This year the Republicans are evidently divided more so than normal and more visibly than normal. But it's always been so. We had contentious fights in 1976 and in 1980. The question is whether or not at the end of the day we have a nominee who can largely unify and motivate most of the Republican base to be as enthusiastic as possible. And we saw in 2012, even after a long contest in which there was bitter divisions and various factions of the party at one time or another, different personalities led. I mean, we had 9 different changes of the lead between July and February. July of 2011 and February 28th of 2012. But even after that, the party came together. So that's the nature of the sort of the broad American political system. Is each party has different factions, sometimes more at peace with each other, sometimes less at peace. And the real question is, can they at the election time bring those factions together? Well, first and foremost is the economy. We are in an anemic recovery. People's paychecks have not gotten fatter. We have large numbers of people who are working part-time because they can't find full-time work, and we have a lot of people who've become so despondent about finding employment that they've dropped out altogether. So we have that cluster of economic issues that have to do with jobs and job security and wages. We also have an economic problem in that we have a large number of people who are dependent upon a social safety net that's at risk because we have dramatically growing deficits that have added to a national debt that is getting to, I think, roughly 74% of GDP. That's the public debt of the United States. That's part of the debt that's been securitized in the form of a bond and sold to somebody. And that's going to get worse. And we have a looming bankruptcy in Medicare. 2030, the Medicare Hospital Trust Fund will be exhausted. 2035, and no later than then, Social Security will go belly up. Social Security Disability Fund runs out of money next year, exhausts its trust fund next year in 2016. And so this coming fiscal crisis is another big concern about which people are going to be talking. Then the size and role and intrusion of government, its regulatory authority in the lives of our businesses, our enterprises, and our lives and our communities. Those are going to be big issues as well. We're likely also to see some concern about trade, which I think is unfortunate. We have a breakdown in this bipartisan consensus that has existed since World War II that we ought to move generally in the direction of greater trade, free trade, removing obstacles and barriers to the sale of U.S. goods and services abroad. But that seems to be really tattered now and maybe falling apart. We've seen, we had Democratic presidents like Ted Kennedy and Lyndon Johnson and Jimmy Carter and Bill Clinton be strong advocates of foreign trade. So is President Obama. The difference is that unlike his 4 Democratic predecessors, he's not brought a lot of Democrats with him to support that consensus. I think there's a very high distrust of Washington. They look at the political system in Washington and they see it as broken. Now, it's been broken a lot in our lifetimes and in the lifetime of our country. You go back to the Gilded Age and how broken and dysfunctional the government then makes today look like child's play. But I think people are so concerned and so angry and so upset over how Washington has conducted itself and so concerned about the implications of that for the future of the country that what they want is somebody who will come along, pick up a brick, and promise to throw it through the plate glass window. And I think that's going to be felt all the way through the election, through the November 2016 election. I'm not certain that it is going to be the dominant factor when ultimately the nominee is chosen. They want somebody who represents change, but I'm not certain that they will necessarily settle on somebody who is completely without experience.